Welcome to episode 20 of Post Shave, which incidentally happens to be the first of 2016. Now, this episode is follically enhanced, as you can see very clearly. Not a whole lot has changed, it's pretty much the same format. We get a chance to look at what's happening across the interwebs on Shave the Man. So without further ado, let's get on with the questions. Con, what is a melt and pour soap? And why do they seem to be looked at so negatively? This is a great question, and it can be answered in two parts. Firstly, let's look at it from the soaper's perspective. A melt and pour soap is a one-stop shop solution for making soap. This is usually purchased in large blocks, which can then be cut and melted, as the name suggests, and other fragrance and essential oils can be added, as well as colouring and various other bits and pieces if that particular soap maker wants to add their own particular character to the soap. The other thing, of course, from a soaping perspective, is that you're not dealing directly with lye, which can be quite dangerous. It's a bit like a cake mix. So you go into a supermarket, you buy a cake mix, and all you have to do is put in some eggs, beat it up a little bit with milk or whatever the case may be, voila, there is your cake. Well, that's kind of what happens with a melt and pour soap. From a consumer's perspective, I guess we like to feel that the soap maker or artisan has invested time into producing a formulation based on testing, on evaluation, and on performance. Using a melt and pour soap removes those variables from the equation. And consequently, the consumer, if they do any amount of research, one need only take a cursory glance at the internet, you can find out all sorts of ways in which you can turn a melt and pour soap into a bath soap, into a body soap, and into a shave soap. They probably feel like they're getting a little ripped off. As I said earlier, as for performance, I've had some wonderful experiences with melt and pour soaps, and I've had some not so wonderful ones. I hope this answers your question. Con, what do you do when you love a scent and your wife hates it? Now, although this question may seem a little flippant and frivolous, it's actually quite a serious one, apart from the legal implications and your safety. I guess different scents smell differently on different people, the intensity of the scent. If you're going to whack on some aftershave and go straight for your wife and give her a big hug and a kiss and she doesn't like it, then I would suggest you give it some time. Aftershaves generally, and particularly if they're alcohol-based, tend to fade reasonably quickly. So what I would do is to give it about 15 or 20 minutes, and by then it should die down. If that, of course, doesn't happen, then I would be looking at what sort of occasion I'm looking at. If I'm going to work, I wouldn't put on an aftershave at all until I'm just about to leave the house. Remember, post-shave doesn't mean straight after shave. It means after you have shaved, it could be 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, even half an hour, where you can then rehydrate your skin and be on your way to work or wherever it is you're going. The other thing, of course, is to keep wearing it if you don't really like your wife very much. Although I wouldn't suggest that, to be honest. Don't wear so much. Con, this might be a little awkward, but when are we going to watch you shaving? Probably never. Now, I've mentioned elsewhere that I'm not a great fan of the bay rum. Just the clove thing does it to me. I don't know what it is. I feel like scratching my eyes out. It's not my thing. But this particular soap, the Sudsy Soapery Citrus and Bay, is a knockout. There is, in my opinion, a slight emphasis on the citrus, and the bay is so well balanced. But that's not the only reason I was wrong about this particular soap. I've had some prejudices, which I have to confess, surround this whole use of clay in a soap. Now, many artisan soap makers will tell you, and in fact be proud of the fact, that they don't use clays. And I've used some wonderful soaps that have little to no clay in them. But in this instance, I managed to use this soap and produce such a stupendous lather that it was almost dangerous. Look, there was lather everywhere. This was a very, very, very easy soap to lather. It produced a wonderful shave. The post-shave feel was magnificent, and the scent, amazing, amazing. What else is amazing is the oil. Now, this is a shave oil, and it happens to come in the Citruson Bay as well. I used it as a pre-shave. Again, I'm not really a fan of the pre-shave thing, but it worked beautifully. If you haven't done so already, give it a go. I think it's well worth your attention. This episode's Shave of the Day, #SOTD, goes to Mr. Heber Cotton, Mr. Vintage himself. Vintage cars, vintage razors, vintage posters, vintage everything. This man is classy, and he knows how to take a photograph and draw you in with perspective. There's composition, there's curiosity, and of course there are beautiful razors. If you haven't checked him out, do so. You'll love it. Remember, if you'd love to contribute your Shave of the Day, just put in #SOTD across a whole range of interwebical platforms. We'll pick it up and show it to the rest of our community. Until next time, stay smooth.